Okay, let me get this loaded.
It's time to check your money with America's Money Maven, Vicki Brackens. Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. Vicki, we got a special guest in the building.
Yes, we do. We have an extra special guest, and we're always very happy to have Member Pam Hunter here with us because she's always going to bring us a fresh look at what's happening across the state and also across the country. And at this point in time, just to make sure everyone knows, okay, fully who we're referencing here, we have Assembly Member Pamela Hunter, who's a Democrat from Syracuse, who represents the 128th Assembly District here in Central New York. I think it's been now about 15 years. Is that correct?
Oh, no, no. 9. I'm going into my 10th year. It seems like it's been
Okay. I mean, it's
yes.
not going into her 10th year here,
Yes.
but we wanted to bring you on again. I think we've gotten into like my 6-month rotation. We have you come back and really address the local area as far as things that are going on. But before we go too far, I want to make absolutely sure that we congratulate you. We congratulate you on your new role as Speaker pro tempore.
Yes.
Because that is a huge honor, which is well deserved and as far as all of the things that you've done for the state and for the local community. So, George, we don't have one of those soundboards, okay, but I'll go ahead and cheer for that. What I want to make sure of, okay, that as far as this new role is concerned, because I am not sure everyone really understands what this new role is and what it means and the implications and the impact that it may have on your ability to serve and influence policy here in the local area and across the state. So I think we'll start there tonight. Please explain to us exactly what your new role is and how what we should do.
Wait,
Yes.
Vicki, 1 second.
Oh, you found one! Yay! You got to work on that instantaneous technology.
As long as George has been in this business, he's got something up his sleeve from recording.
I was trying to get it to go, and I forgot where I put it, but it was right there. All right.
Okay. All right.
Now
Then
you
wonderful.
can answer that question.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I always love to see you both in person and virtually. And it always is a pleasure to be able to have these conversations with you. It's very timely, and it really brings the conversation to people's homes where sometimes they want to know what's going on and they don't necessarily. So it's great to be able to have this episode and what you all do as a resource. So I am the Speaker Pro Tem for the New York State Assembly. Pro Tem. It basically means temporary. Like it means that you are the speaker when the speaker is not there. And that means I preside over all of the legislative proceedings. I'm in a leadership capacity. There are basically 5 leadership positions in the state assembly, the speaker, the minority leader, the speaker pro tem, and there are 2 committee chairmanships that are part of leadership ways and means and codes. So essentially, I'm one of 5 people in leadership positions in the state. I have the speaker's ear. I meet with them in leadership meetings every week. And hopefully this will be able to elevate and escalate even more the legislation that I bring, the resources that I bring back to the district. But really, I'm in the chamber every day, all sessions. So if you ever log on to the assembly sessions, you will see me as sort of the face and the voice of the New York State Assembly. And it just really is a privilege that the speaker saw this in me and being able to be a leader in our community and across the state.
It's a big deal.
So, yeah, it is a very big deal. So again, congratulations. I know that Speaker Hasty appointed you into that position. It's not one that you have to run for. It's really a recognition of the skill set that you bring to the assembly. Were you surprised, though, when he called?
Yes and no. Because I was the Banks Committee Chair for the past 2 years, and I'm the current president of NCOIL, the National Council of Insurance Legislators. So this year for 2025, I'm the president of insurance. So I've been all things financial services for a long time.
Right.
And I think because I was the majority conference chair a few years ago. And being an Army veteran, the speaker sees my capacity for leadership and bringing calm and patience with a kind of firm hand that sometimes is necessary in my chamber. And it really just was a privilege. I wasn't surprised, although I think in conversations with my staff, we're like, okay, if there's other committees we could have, what would rise to the top? And this was not necessarily something that we were looking for, but it's something when the speaker asks you, it's a privilege, and you definitely want to be able to step up. And since Mike Bragman was the majority leader a decade, probably around 15 or so years ago,
Right.
this really is the biggest leadership position in the state that anybody in Central New York has. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it could mean so the majority leader, Mike Bragman, about 15 years ago, that was about the last time that anyone in Central New York had this high leadership position in the state assembly. So really, it's an honor to be able to have this position, but also being able to have this high position and being able to represent Central New York means a lot, and I think especially for our area.
That's
Awesome.
fantastic, and you know that it's as they say, time really flies. I didn't realize it had been that long, okay, since Bradwin was there. But you mentioned a couple of things while you were describing your surprise and not being surprised in leadership positions and leadership skills. That you were the chair of the banking committee and chair of financial services and banking committee for so long, which is how we usually have our conversations. Are you losing that committee?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So you are transitioning from that committee. Should we be concerned?
No, we should not be concerned. Obviously, I still sit on the insurance committee. I actually was never on the banking committee, but I still sit on the insurance committee. But,
Okay.
every piece of legislation that comes forward, obviously, I get a chance to vote on it. And, we elevated that banks committee to kind of where it was today. And it kind of was a little sleepy for many years. And I think because the dissection between state chartered and federally chartered banks,
Right.
that a lot of the work that we were doing was just for state charter banks, but with now buy now, pay later, with cryptocurrency, happening with the bank failures, which we talked about happening. There was a lot that
Right.
was going on. So it's definitely relevant. So you're not losing me as banks committee chair, but definitely still having the information. And then remember, I said I am the president of NCOIL right now, and we do have a financial services committee with that as well. So everything that we're talking about at the state, actually, I get to bring to speak about at the national level as well.
Oh, okay. Then so we just wanted to make sure we weren't losing that expertise or losing that influence because I know you have pretty much a bird's eye view not only on what's happening in New York, because with New York being the second largest economy in the country, okay, Texas says they are, but I don't think they are. Somewhere between okay, second and third. We wanted. I know you see a lot of things that are happening not only within the state of New York but across the country, which gives us a bird's eye view of many of the things that are happening there. As far as the new administration's planned economic efforts, how do you think that's, and I'm going to say new administration, I mean the national administration's planned economic efforts. What do you see that as an impact for New Yorkers at this point?
It's going to have a huge impact. New York, though we have a large reserve, very large reserve, Governor Hochul has done a great job in amassing, a reserve that we've never had, this much for rainy day. The
Right?
state does not and cannot supplant any dollars that the federal government does not give back to New York that they have, given for services, whether it's for education monies, whether it's for climate protection policies that we're moving forward, healthcare dollars, the comment that people on Medicaid are people sitting around just playing video games at home all day when the majority of people on Medicaid are actually in long-term care. And so the state can't pay for all of that. And so there's going to be huge repercussions, but we're not putting our state budget together based on the federal government. We have Congress people who are responsible for that, and they need to be talked to and advocated to, and et cetera, for taking care of their budget, because we have our own programs and services that we need to deliver for New Yorkers.
Okay, well, speaking of our congressmen and senators, I know, George, you had a question. I'm going to let you go ahead and we were going to
Yeah,
hold it to the end, but this is the perfect time. Okay,
I was gonna. You reading my
since you're
mind.
here.
You read my mind.
Okay,
So
all right.
speaking of money, Assembly Member Hunter, we obviously there was a budget deal that was signed by Chuck Schumer and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, which caused a lot of Democrats to be upset about siding with the Republicans. Senator Schumer explained it as a catch-22. If he doesn't go along, if he lets the government shut down, he says, then that would have had a greater impact, because then it would have given the power over to the president, and the president to choose what would come back if there was a deal. On the other hand, Democrats are saying, listen, we didn't put you there to negotiate like that. We want you to stand firm and hold the line. And so, what are you team? I don't know how to say it that way, because then I'll put you on the spot. But I want to know what you think about what Senator Schumer did, and and if there's a particular chorus that you're in.
Yeah. So I have to just step away just 1 second and liken it to our New York State budget. If it is not passed on time, that gives the governor more power to do more things, because the legislature didn't pass it on time. So that means we lose negotiating power in the state, and really we are at the whim of the governor. So that's why you work with best intention to making sure that you get the bills, the budget bill passed on time, so that you can get everything that you need. Obviously we have a Democratic governor, a Democratic legislature, so we're probably fighting in the same direction. And so that makes it easier, but that's sometimes been difficult. We had tough times with, Governor Cuomo when the budgets were going, and that's leverage that they have after the deadline. That is definitely leverage. So that is very similar to the federal government, being in that kind of position to say, will I vote for a shutdown? And some people are like, burn it down, shut it down. This is what we want to do. Don't negotiate. If anybody has ever worked for a company that has not paid their employee for a month, imagine tens and thousands of people who could be your constituents coming to you saying, I haven't gotten paid for a week, a month, 2 months while the government is shut down. That's something that you need to answer to your constituents. And so those 7 Congress people in New York State that, are voting for this, they should be called upon saying, what are you doing? The 2 senators that we're talking about now who voted for this, a government shutdown impacts everything. And so let's just take, for example, the court system. And you have seen that Democratic attorneys general across the country have utilized the courts to fight back for some of these policies that the administration has been putting forth. So should there have been a shutdown, the courts would be shut down too. And that basically is one of the only mechanisms available right now that has been staving off some of these policies, is through the court system. No budget, no courts, no help for any of these attorneys generals to get some of these things stopped, like probationary employees, getting them back to work.
Right.
Looking at that USAID department, and many other things. So while one hand, I can say, this is not what we do. This is not the path that, our elected Democratic senators should be doing. I also have to, as a legislator, know what happens when the budget doesn't pass and the power that you're giving away. And what we have seen now, New Yorkers are scared. People across the country are scared. They're scared about egg prices. They're scared about, their loved ones being picked up by ICE. I mean, all of these things are happening. And so it's like, as long as the government is functioning, you have employees that are able to assist and help. When that shuts down, there's no protection. And unfortunately, Democrats do a horrible job at messaging. And so I feel like if you had heard that example I just gave when this happened, would you have thought about this differently going after, some of these senators across the state and ours as well, if you knew that they are protecting one of the only things that is helping us right now, would you still feel the same way?
Yeah, so you would have voted with the Senator Schumer if you had that vote.
I don't know what I would have done, quite frankly, because a lot of these bills are omnibus bills. So, like, you could be voting to protect veterans and be giving millions of dollars for arms to a different country because that's
Mm.
what these bills look like. So, I did not see the budget bill. I don't know what's in it. I can't know walking in someone else's shoes, but you have to be able to fight back, but you have to be in the game to fight and knowing that we need federal workers to help us. And if they're not working, they can't help us. And I think that is very poignant, something that we need to be thinking about. But how long does the fight continue? That's been 2 months, and he's going to be president for 4 years. So do you spend it all in 2 months? Do you save some for later? Is the fight right now? I don't know. But I do know, the messaging hasn't been very good. And instead of hiding away and not, talking to voters, I think now is the time to speak out and say exactly what is happening, what's going on, why we voted, what was the reason we did this, because we come up with our own, things in our mind when no one's telling us anything. We just come up with it ourselves. And I think
Yeah,
seeing everything the federal government is doing and not hearing our representatives telling us why they're doing what they're doing, we could just come up with whatever.
if Democrats for a lot of the constituency look weak right now, and they don't look like they have an agenda, they have a mission, and it looks like they're rolling over and playing dead. And that's what it feels like. I was talking to Congressman Manning. He says we're fighting every day, and you're right. We're seeing some victories in the courts, but the perception is they're getting the those who are not in favor with this administration's policies. They're not seeing the opposition unified, strong, or at least being able to stop it. Perception.
Well, but if you think about the numbers, there aren't enough numbers. They have every house
They
of
got
a
it.
branch of government. And
Yeah.
so while Mannion is fighting every single day, thank you very much, they have a very slim margin, but they have enough votes in order to pass things in Congress. In the Senate, that margin is much, slimmer. Had they not gotten those 10, we have our two, but what about the 8 others? I don't know what they're doing in, the other state. But I do agree with you. It does look like weakness, but it's like looking at the big picture. How do you fight? One cannot fight continuously all day, every single day. You can't do it. It's been 2 months. It's impossible for one person to just continue. So you got to pick a thing. What's your thing? Is it housing? Is it Medicaid? Is it Medicare? Is it the migrants? We do polling all the time. And I can tell you, the recent polling that came out said that the majority of people agree. It's like 50-50. Is Trump doing exactly what he said he was going to do? And
Yes.
people have said, yes, he is doing what he said he's going to do. And when they asked about the different policies, like the migrant policies, 70% of New Yorkers said that they agree with what he's doing
Wow.
relative to our migrant policy. And so, okay, you're talking about that. I think probably the next one will be worse because we'll be talking about the budget. We'll be talking about Medicaid, and that's hitting people, where it hurts. But it's interesting how some of the conversation that you might hear on the street is not necessarily what's being reflective when people are called, for polling. People want to be able to pay. They do think that the tariffs that Trump is enacting will hurt their pocketbook. But then asked again, do they still support him? That same percentage of people still say they do. So the pain is happening, and it probably is going to continue to happen. And until it reaches the masses, this is not just Democratic voters that are being affected. This is all
Right.
across the state until the people who voted for him, and again, people in Democratic areas in our state voted for this president, that until the hurt that they feel in that is real that they hear about, but it really affects their pocketbook, then I think you're going to see movement. And I think those 7 congressional Republican, representatives are feeling the heat. You see these town halls across the country where
Yes.
they're going and they're getting booed, and they're saying, oh, they're paid Democratic operatives coming to these town halls. No, they're there constituents who are saying, what are you doing? What are you voting? So we're going to probably see more of that.
So, you said several things there that I hope we can focus on more, George, you and I. Um, these issues are interconnected. They do not sit in isolation. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we're viewing them in isolation. You should be working harder. You should be fighting harder. But you got to stay in the game. That's George and I disagree. You got to stay in the game in order to win. And with looking at the numbers across the country, the fact that more than half of the population can't handle a $400 emergency, I know that if the government is shut down, we're putting a lot of people into that $400 emergency that's going to drive them into insolvency in a lot of households. And the
That
longer that
happened during
happens,
COVID.
okay, thank you. It's all over again. Okay, so there are this is not this is a tangled web that at the end of the day, staying in the game was the choice, and I actually agree with it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we had to stay in the game. Okay, in order to because the court system's being shut down, and the things that were actually working were too much to give away at this point in time, because of the levels of protection. But
Well, they should
to
have
be
had
continued.
Assemblymember Hunter out there explaining it, so
Explaining
we
it,
would
yes.
know it.
We
'Cause
should have hired you to
you should have been
explain
out
it.
there explaining it. But I did appreciate you saying pick an issue,
Pick an
because
issue, yeah.
pick an issue. I think that's one of the things I take away from what you said. And like you said, I'd be surprised at what people say versus what they will support. All right, Vicki, thank you for that
Okay.
indulgence, and I appreciate it.
All right. Okay. So we're going to go back to the last couple of questions before we wrap up here. And of course, if you have something in particular you want to interject, feel free at any point in time, Assembly member. Syracuse, as your home, is poised for tremendous economic growth. And I was a little when we had. I'll be honest with you. When I listened to the entire thing of the State of the Union, and I heard the CHIP Act come out of the president's mouth saying cancel it. I got a little, I got a little frayed around my corner, around the collar. But we're poised for tremendous economic growth. What do you believe, though, that Syracuse and Onondaga County residents need to do to squeeze every ounce out of all the benefits that are before us here, as far as all of the economic opportunities here within the state of New York?
Yeah. That's a tough one because just like we've seen with other things from the federal government, where like we're going to shut something down and then they do, but they sort of don't. And a lot of these things were passed with the prior administration. Even though they say things are in statute and it was passed and they can't touch it. Well, we see what happened with Roe v. Wade when they said it was established law and it had been, and now it was overturned.
50
So,
years, yeah. Okay.
um, just having an assurance from our county executive saying it's not going away, it's not happening. I'm glad that he's feeling confident about that. But to me, it's like the devil is in the details, and put your money where your mouth is, federal government, because until I see money starting flowing release, I see Micron hiring people in corporate, offices, and that's great. Those are high level people. Those aren't necessarily our local folks, that are on the ground that we're trying to get them these, manufacturing jobs. But I've not seen a shovel in the ground yet out there in Clay. And I know that there's a lot of, things that need to be done before that happens. We work towards making that happen. We stay on our federal partners to make sure that they deliver what they can, for us. From the state's perspective, this is done. We're moving forward, just like with 81. That
Right.
obviously was passed. That infrastructure bill was passed, and the monies went through. And so I think there's a little jockeying because, it's not his bill. his meaning the president's, if this was his negotiating, he's talking about having some Taiwan semiconductor company, coming. Well, we have our own here, that's
Right.
it's in the United States. So I think we plan for the future. Keep planning like this is going to happen. I'm sure everyone, is positive that it's going to happen, but you always have a plan B. I know that originally it was like 4 fabs. Now I think they're talking about realistically starting the one and getting to the two. Well, that's very different from what we were told from the very beginning. They want way more water than they had wanted when we first heard about this. This is not speaking out of school. This is absolutely true. And so plans change, right? And so we need to be nimble and prepared. But right now, we're not even ready for the people who live here today. We don't have enough housing for the people who live here today. You just saw that article about now that they're the folks in the housing are being displaced, and they knew it was coming. Obviously, they said that they were going to tear those buildings down, looking to rehome many people who are currently living there, so they could tear down the buildings. And in the paper, they're asking if anybody knows any landlords who of places where people can live with 3, 4 bedrooms. Where are those places? Like, this is a problem that's happening right now, and we have not built what we needed to. So future problems are something we need to plan, set the goal, work towards. I think that our focus needs to be on the people who are currently here right now, who can't afford their life today, who need to have stable housing, who need to have quality education. They need infrastructure in place. I know that the city has $30 million and in the hopper. And people are calling my office for potholes to be fixed. You need to be calling the city. The state gives you the money. You need to expend it. And so while we're planning for the future, planning for down the road, I think there's definitely many issues that we need to be taking care of right now in front of us that I think if we uplift those, the bigger things come to us.
Before you go, Assemblymember Hunter, is there anything you want to say to constituents about actions we can take and things that we could do, especially during this time?
Well, first I would say breathe, because I think that we are getting ourselves filled with anxiety, and that's not healthy for us. I would say turn off your phone and social media, and also limit your intake on the news. You don't have to get every news channel all day long. It's in your brain, and it's too much. It's too much. So set a schedule of time for your news intake. Make sure you're getting a variety of intake from many different places, because now journalism sometimes has slants. So we want to make sure that we're getting information from all sides, and do your research. I think that's very important. I said before, pick an issue. You can't fight every single issue, every battle. What resonates with you, whether it's, something to do with aging or Social Security, Medicaid, long-term care, the environment. There's many things to choose from. Make sure you know who your elected representatives are and their contact information, and reach out to them. Email them, call their office, send them, information about you as a constituent. What do you stand for? What do you advocate for? What do you want them to do? Those are active things that you can do, and take care of yourself. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. This is how democracy works with elections. Obviously, we elected this current administration, and we have to see this through. And so we just have to prepare ourselves mentally, physically for the marathon. And we're seeing people getting themselves exasperated, and I can understand that. And I'm exasperated too. But I need to be here and healthy in mind and body for the fight. And if I'm not taking care of myself, I can't take care of others.
Well, okay. I think that's a great way for us to end on the conversation of uplifting others, making sure that we uplift those that are here before us right now, and that we all start planning as for the future as far as the infrastructure is concerned and things that are necessary for the future. But we need to concentrate on what's happening right in front of us each and every day. Again, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I tell everyone that's watching and listening If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call at area code 315-930-4499. Be sure and share this segment. Like and subscribe. I got them all this time, George. Share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. If you have additional questions or comments, love to hear from you at any point in time at info@brackensfsn.com. And George, I'll say now, our plate is full.
All right, Vicki Brackens is wait, let me do this. Here we go. Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and the registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. She is America's Money Maven.